So I did trick myself into being rich, into being successful, into being wealthy, into closing millions of dollars worth of deals, into making over $1 million in profit. I tricked myself and I willed my way to this point. I did. And honestly, this one notebook changed my life. It did. The amount of things that I've written in this notebook of my own alchemy, you'd say, my own almanac, you'd use. This is my almanac. This is the almanac of Olufemi, right? And I want to share with you guys exactly how I've been able to build this dream life, exactly how I'm building my ultimate dream life, the ultimate, like, what does the best version of myself look like? How I'm building that right now by literally tricking myself and willing my way there. The biggest thing that you guys have to understand about accomplishing goals is that you have already had to accomplish that goal in your mind in order to accomplish the goal. It already has to have happened. Like, literally, it has to have happened. And I think some people will call this delusion, but you need to have some level of delusion to understand that you can elevate beyond your current state. You have to have some form of delusion because everything around you, all of the external factors are going to be telling you that there's absolutely no way that you can elevate beyond this. So, your current neighborhood, your current financial position, most people are going to try and tell you you cannot elevate beyond this. And so, what do? You don't do it. When from the ages of really like 14, 15, my initial plan was to become rich by being an athlete. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to become rich by being an athlete. I wanted to join the pro track circuit and make 250 to $1 million net profit per year. And I wanted to invest that money into real estate or invest that money into assets that would consistently return me anywhere from 15 to 20% per year. These are the kind of things that I thought about at the age of 14 to 15. And so in my mind, I became an athlete that was already really successful. So by product, I just started doing the things that a successful athlete does. I was doing the ice baths. I was going to cryotherapy. I was getting the massages. I was doing cupping. Mind you, as a broke high school student, I was doing all these things. I was eating right. There's clips of me eating the same salmon every day. I would eat the same food every day. I would treat my body right. I did everything that a professional athlete would do. I think, therefore I am. When all you have to do when it comes to your goals is literally just be it. Be it. Like, what does the end goal look like? I need to be that. And me doing that took me all the way to getting a scholarship to go to college. All the way to getting a scholarship to go to college and being fast enough to where I could have gone to the Olympic trials. That's what that did. Just that mentality from the age of 14, 15, saying, you know what? I'm good at this. I'm going to stick to this. I'm going to dedicate myself to it. And I'm going to put my mindset in the Femi that's already a professional. And had I not found real estate, had I not found wholesaling real estate, had I not found land flipping, that's what I would have continued to do. But I found it and I realized that the product of what I wanted was the same thing. So then it switched. I said, you know what? I want to be able to make $1 million in profit a year or more doing real estate deals. And eventually that's what happened. So at the age of 20, at the age of 21, that is what I thought about. That's all I thought about. And so guess what? I started doing things that led me to doing bigger deals. I started doing things that put me in rooms with people who were doing multiple millions of dollars. I started getting in rooms with people who would fund my deals no problem. I started making connections with people who wanted to connect with me and wanted to show me the path and show me the way. I started disciplining myself in a certain way. I started studying in a certain way. I started making the actions towards my goal because that's what I wanted. That's what I thought. That's all I thought about. And see, when you realize that you become what you think about, all you're going to think about is being successful. All you're going to think about is, what is it that I want? Like, what does it look like? I have in this notebook, I want to drive an AMG Mercedes. I currently drive an AMG Mercedes. I want to get married to a specific kind of woman. I'm married to that specific kind of woman. I want to travel the world with this woman. We've traveled to 10 countries together and are going to travel to a multitude more countries this year. I think it's actually over 10 countries, but at least 10 countries we've traveled to. And we've been gone for, weeks and weeks at a time with no care in the world. In a completely different country, weeks at a time, months at a time even, no care in the world. Businesses are still making money. I said that I wanted to do large real estate deals. I've completed millions of dollars worth of transactions. And every single one of those things that I put in this notebook has happened up until this point. Up until this point. So every single goal, every goal. But why? Because you need to think about, what is the person that does this? What is this person? What do they do? What are their actions like? How do they act? How do they talk to people? How do they think? What are their habits? What do they eat? This is what you have to think about. And you cannot approach your goals with the sense of fear. You need to approach your goals with a sense of fearlessness. When you can approach your goals with a sense of fearlessness, like, no matter what, I'm going to accomplish this. It may not take 6 months. It may not take a year. It might take 3-4 years. But if you stay the course and do all the things that you need to do and take the action, you're going to get there. And this is the thing. When you're very specific about what you want, the world has a way of making things work for you to get you there. You're going to arrive at a destination either way. It's best to just arrive at a destination that you want to arrive at. Arrive at a destination that is desirable to you. Because either way, you're going somewhere. Either way, you're going somewhere. So why not just be intentional about it? Many people are not intentional about their lives, which is why they end up drifting. Many people are not specific with their goals, which is why they end up drifting. Many people also set very empty goals. There's so many people that set their New Year's resolutions. These are very empty goals. They don't make any tangible action steps towards their goals. They just say, oh yeah, I want to make $1 million this year. And then don't do anything in alignment with the person that will make $1 million. The most common trait that I see with myself and many of my other friends who are millionaires, multimillionaires, centimillionaires, so on and so forth. The most common trait that I see is obsession. Complete obsession with what they're doing. Can't stop thinking about it. I cannot stop thinking about it. People that want to do deals all day, want to underwrite deals all day, want to talk to people all day, make connections, mastermind, and just talk about that. That's the most common trait. The most common trait that I've seen with people that will never, well, not never, but people that will have a hard time getting to that level are these limiting beliefs. I think everything that is outside of my little world, I think it's a scam. I don't want to learn anything else. I'm going to talk about this celebrity or this person's child or this TV show or this movie, or I'm going to talk about things that don't really matter. I'm not going to talk about things that elevate me. That's the common trait that I see. And so be cognizant of the kind of conversations that you're having as well. Where are you trying to go, and what are you doing in your current state that is in alignment with the person that you want to become? And you may not even know that, because you may not even know what kind of person you want to become. You may not even be setting those specific goals of who you want to become. You may not be. And if you're not, it's very important to do that, because, again, time is going to pass either way. As I make this video, time is passing second by second. It's going to pass either way. You might as well just be intentional about your timeline. You might as well just be intentional about your story. We only get one story to live. And so it's important to be intentional about it. The next 10 years for me looks like more building, more accolades, making better connections, making great friends, building, most importantly, and this is something that I'm most excited about, is becoming a father and being a great husband and building a family of many. Building a family of many that also are just conquerors and go after anything that they want to do and accomplish it. That's what the next phase of my life looks like. And I have a goal of And I have goals of getting to $1 billion cash. I have goals of having jets and all these things. Yes, those are also in my almanac. Those are also there. And so, because of that, I do everything that is required of me now to get to that point. I speak in a way that the Femi that has accomplished everything that he wants to accomplish speaks. I already talk like that. And the world does things for me to push me along faster. And I think a lot of people also believe that the world is against them. And so, like, if you go through these bouts of stress, you go through these like bouts of stress where you're like, ah, oh, God, this isn't working out for me, or I can't figure it out. You think that the world is against you. The world is never against you. It just is. The world just is. That's just how it is. It's just there. You're the only one stopping you from getting to where you want to go. You're the only one stopping you. And I realized this very early on in life. There's not a situation that I can ever be in that I couldn't pull myself out of. There's nothing that I cannot do. If a single person has done it, I can also do it. Every person that lives on this planet is a person with a heart, a brain, fingers, toes, can speak. I can do it. And I've always thought like that. My father raised me like that. My mother raised me like that. You can do anything you set your mind to. And unfortunately, we're not taught that. Unfortunately, what we're taught in school is, if you think like that, then you're arrogant. You're cocky. You shouldn't think like that. Because they want to be able to control you on a conveyor belt. Ultimately. Because if you can continue to work for a system and not for yourself, it's more beneficial to those that are in power. But if you're able to free yourself from that thought process, if you're able to make money on your own without depending on another person, if you're able to close deals at a very high rate, if you're able to do things like this, if you're able to make money for yourself, I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Because then you realize, you know what? Everything I want out of life, I really can have. And that's something that I've realized. Every single thing that I want out of life, I can have. And many things that I've wanted so far, I've already had. And I think that that's all due to being intentional about it and being specific about it. All of it is due to that. And now one of my biggest goals is I want to be able to create 200 millionaires. And so how well do I have to teach someone? How well do I have to be involved with someone's deals and making sure that I'm underwriting properly and making sure that I'm giving them the right connections? How well do I have to do that in order to actually create 200 millionaires? Because that would be me generating essentially $200 million, which is well possible and will happen in the next 5 years. But what I think about is the Femi that's already created 200 millionaires, how does he act? And then I just choose to act that way. So for yourself, think about the person or the version of you that's already making $100,000 a month. What do they do? How do they dress? How do they take care of themselves? Where do they travel to? What kind of car do they drive? What do they invest their money in? What kind of tax strategies do they implement? This is what you need to think about. And again, like, there are people that are going to see this video and think, oh, this is just so woo-woo. And it's not. I'm telling you, it's not. Every single person that I've ever met that is massively successful thinks like this and still thinks like this today. So I'm telling you, this is the baseline of what you need to be successful. It is, because it starts in here. It does. It doesn't start with the mailers. It doesn't start with the text messages. It doesn't start with that. You first have to believe that you can get there. Like, literally, you believing it is 80% of the battle. Like really inherently believing in it and knowing where you're going is 80% of the battle. Doing it is just a 20%. Because I'll tell you this, if you do it without the belief, you'll never do it to the level that you need to do it at in order to actually be successful. You never will. Now, if you do it with the belief, even if you're not as good yet, you're going to continue to carry on until you get to that point where you are that good. And I want you to say to yourself constantly, I think, therefore I am. You don't have to do anything more than what you're already doing besides switch how you're thinking. I think, therefore I am. I am already at this point. That's what I would say to myself. I am already at this point. So what does that look like? Let me start acting like it. This is the most powerful thing that I've ever learned in my life. It's the most powerful thing that I've ever learned in my life. And it has changed my life and continues to change my life. I used to want to do deals that made me 6 figures net profit. I've done multiple deals like that and continue to do multiple deals like that. I used to want to close millions of dollars worth of real estate deals. I used to want to have a 7-figure investment portfolio. Like all these things that I've been able to do, these are the things that I would think about. Like I would think about all of these things and I just did it. I did everything that it took. And so now it's like, okay, this next 10 to 20 years of my life, this is what I'm going to do. That's literally it. Become the person that accomplishes your goals. Become that person. And I want you to really just like take a minute, sit down for an hour and like 2 hours, 3 hours and reflect on like what that look. I mean, I have this notebook is like one of my main ones, but I also have a bunch of notebooks back there. That's my reflection deck right there. This one right below these books. That's why there's not a lot of books there because that's my reflection deck. There's a lot of journals in there that I've had since I was 18. So from 7 years ago, just writing about, what I practiced that day, what I did, the going to the recovery room. When I first started learning about, real estate and watching YouTube videos, everything that I learned in there, like I have detailed notes in here about land. Like when I was first starting, I would go to every single meeting that I could. I would meet every person that I could. And I have detailed notes about it. And it's funny because a lot of the concepts that I had in here, pretty much all the concepts that I had in here, I've now accomplished those things that I wrote about all those years ago. And that's just because I was intentional about it. And so you just need to be more intentional about your life and where you're going because we don't get this again. We just don't get this again. And I think, the more you tell yourself that, the more it's like, damn, you know what, he's right. So I might as well just try this. If I'm not in the position that I want to be in, if I'm failing, if I feel like I'm failing, amongst my own standards, then I need to change it. I want to live a certain way and I'm not living that way. Why? Ask yourself why. It's probably because you're not being intentional about it. It's probably because you're letting life happen to you. A lot of people let life happen to them and don't make things happen. And the biggest factor of success that I see amongst myself and amongst many people I know that are also very successful, we make things happen. We just make it happen. There's no anxiety towards it. There's no, I'm going to will this into existence. I'm going to make sure it happens. I'm going to be very intentional. Whatever comes my way, great. But I know how badly I want this. And I'm going to make it happen. And you need to have that inherent drive in yourself if what you want is to truly become successful and to live the life you want to live and to do the things you want to do. You need to be very intentional about it. The world is a very giving place if you allow it to be. And the only way for you to allow it to be is to do the things that you would do at the highest level. Do them now. Just be that person. Literally just be that person. Because I'm telling you, crazier things happen. Like there are things that are inexplainable that have happened to me because of the way I think. And because I just put myself in those situations. Like the connections that I've been able to make in the last year with people has been insane. I've talked to some people that I'm like, whoa. Like I used to watch this guy on this podcast, or I used to see this guy on TV or whatever, and I've talked to these kinds of people. But it's just because I placed myself there. I was just intentional about it. I placed myself there. So you just got to be able to think in the mindset of, I don't want anything. I'm not after anything. I already have it. I already have it. It is literally like tricking your mind. It's like, I am everything that I want to be. I don't need to add anything else. I am this. But in order to be that, you need to define what it looks like. You have to define what it looks like. And honestly, I'll share it with you guys. My ultimate manifesto is for me to make a lot of people very wealthy, is for me to be a billionaire in my own right, for me to have my own jet, for me to continue to travel the world, continue to build my family, continue to build and scale and exit from businesses. Those are all things that I'm doing. And you see how I say that? I'm already doing it. You're doing it. Because when you say, like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, you indicate that it hasn't happened yet, therefore it will not happen. That's what you're indicating to the world. It hasn't happened, so it won't happen. The only time you have is this present moment right here. You don't have any other time. The past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist yet. You only have right here. And so in your present moment, you need to be here, and you need to already be it. You need to be where you ultimately want to be. You need to just live it. So I want you to define exactly what that looks like. I want you to define where you live. I want you to define how you acquire those places or place. I want you to define, what does your dream business look like? What does your dream business allow you to do? And what kind of person do you have to become in order to have that business? In order to have that kind of cash flow? And then literally become that person. Write it down and become that person. Like, make the conscious decision. I am this person now. This is who I am. And the world around you will start to form you and morph you into that person that does that faster than you can ever imagine. Because I'll tell you this, it's not always going to be easy for you. You're always going to have resistance. But you also need to, how does this person handle resistance? How does this person handle stress? How does this person handle tense situations? How do they handle it? You need to define that too, because in me saying this, I'm not sitting here saying that you can write things down in a magic notebook and then it's just going to appear right in front of your face. You still got to do the work. You still have to do the work, but you also need to be very intentional, very specific. Don't get me wrong. You're going to have to work your belly off in order for you to get to where you want to go. You're going to have to. But you also need to become the person that just accomplishes these things. Everything you touch just turns to gold. That's who you want to become. So just decide to be that person. But then also understand that, yes, there's going to be roadblocks, but this version of yourself runs through it. Runs through the roadblocks. Maybe in your current state, you're not able to run through the roadblocks. Maybe when things get hard right now, you kind of just, all right, I'm just going to go back to what I was doing before. Maybe that's what you do. And if that's you, you need to think about that. How do I deal with adversity? Because yeah, I'm going to have some adversity. Things may not always go in the exact way that I want them to go. But if I become this person that's just a massive titan of the world and just accomplishes anything that they set their mind to, then these little small bouts of adversity, I won't even know that it's adversity. I won't even know it, because this is the kind of person that I am. That's the biggest thing. This 26 minutes has been the biggest thing that I've used to get to this point in my life. And it is what I'm using in the next phase of my life. And this is something that you should practice. So get out a notebook, piece of paper, write down exactly what your dream life looks like. Write down who you have to become to be that, to get that dream life. Write down what your ideal business does. Write down what you have to do to get there. And start doing it today. Don't wait tomorrow. Don't wait the next day. Don't wait. Live in that space today. Decide, make the conscious decision to live in that space today. So if you start reverting back to the old habits, get right back on track, because the person that you defined doesn't do that. Doesn't revert to these certain habits. Doesn't get up and eat cookies and cake at 2 a.m. or whatever it is, whatever it's going to be. Define it though. Define it very clearly, because ultimately you're very intelligent. You know what you need to do to be at your goal. You know, you have an idea at least. You should have an idea, right? There's been plenty of roadmaps, blueprints for you to get to where you want to go. I'm one of them. So ultimately, you should know, like, okay, these are kind of the steps that I need to take. Let me write it down. Let me become this. And just live in I'm telling you, when you live in this space, I feel like I can run through walls. I feel like I can literally run through brick walls simultaneously. I feel like I can do anything. And I can't. When you live in that space, though, it's like, I can accomplish anything. So I want you to write down your goals. I want you to really internalize that. What does it look like? And understand that every single thing that you put on that list, you are perfectly capable of having. Every single thing, if not more. You're perfectly capable of having, as long as you're willing to do what it takes to get there. As long as you're willing to be the person that gets to that point. This has been Femi with Lamverse, and I will see you on the next video.